Victoria Adams Sky Cloud Magic Show. Coming up, right before your very eyes, you will learn how to paint like Victoria Adams. And with this, I'm going to start with a large round brush. Here are the brushes you need. A large round brush. Then, you'll need a medium round brush. Then, you'll need a small round brush for detail. All right, let's get our party going. Okay, on the left side of the screen, over here, that is the after, and then over here is the before. Okay, so with this, there's a few tricks to it. One, I rinsed out my brush, but right now, the problem with the brush is it's wet. If I dip that in the paint, it won't work. And make sure you're watching this. Don't think it's gonna take away from your time, McKenna.
Okay, let me just blend this out.
You could even come over here if you want to watch it up closer. Okay, so with this, I'm going to start with the clouds. I did a base coat, so this is like from dark to light on the bottom, near the horizon. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some white, and for the darker part of the cloud, I got a little bit of white, a little bit of blue, and I have a magic color in here. Watch this. The blue's not magic, by the way. And I do a dot of black to gray it out. And a tiny bit of raw umber, which is like a cool brown. And raw umber and blue, they're friends. They like each other. Now, here's the kicker. I got that color. I'll test it out. Looks pretty good. But now, just a dot of magenta. Just a teeny bit right there. Ooh, maybe a titch more. Yeah, so this color right here is a nice base for a cloud. So what I'll do now is I'll come in here, and when I put the paint on, it's pretty thick paint. Blob of paint, and I just move the paint a little bit. Then watch this. Do I keep going? Heck no. I gotta change color and add more paint. If you're trying to blend and blend and blend, it won't work. Now I'll come in here, blend this out a little bit. So see how small the strokes are? Very small. And then now change color. I'll go a little more white over here. And I'm blending right on the canvas so I don't mix up puddles of paint. You don't need to. I'll even go more magenta up here. And then to get rid of that saturated magenta, guess what I put in there? My magic raw umber. And that'll blend into this. And because I'm changing color all the time, it doesn't really matter that the colors don't match, because they won't match anywhere, because I'm always changing the colors. Now we'll go cerulean blue, a little bit of brown. So this will be like the sky color again. And then stop. Because now the paint's, I've already run out of paint, because I've been blending for a little bit. So now I'll go back in, a little more blue. That's too saturated, but I don't care. It's not my project. And I'm going to be able to come in here and get a little more black. Black to kind of neutralize the color. Scrub, but watch how little I scrub. Scrubbing in small strokes, heavy paint. And I'm going right over that color. Now I'll get more paint. So you're constantly getting more paint. That's one of the secrets of Victoria Adams. Always more paint. And with this technique, I'm starting off large brush, bigger strokes, and skies are meant to be layers, like Shrek. Like an onion. And if you look at this, small strokes. See how small they are? Super small strokes are already starting to look like clouds, even though they don't need to yet. And over here, this is a bad transition. So I'm gonna get the white right here, and that's too white. Am I panicked? No. I'll just add a little bit of blue. Just a dot of blue. And then I'll go in a little dot of raw umber, just because I can. And I'm kind of blending this in. So these aren't really clouds. This is like a sky that's not blended that well, more than clouds. And then I'll define them later. So right now, they're not defined. Soon they will be, though. And then I'm gonna get some magenta, see how magenta this is. And that magenta has raw umber in it. That's why it doesn't look like Barney. You don't want your clouds looking like Barney threw up on your canvas. And then suddenly go in here, a little more white, scumble. And then this is a technique for this phase. So the technique, if you look at it, it's like it seems like it's taking a long time, but really it's not, because I'm going over the whole thing. And it doesn't lift. I don't have to worry about lifting because of the technique. So here's flat. I pick up the brush, barely lift up.
I don't think they can see that.
It's not like this. It's like this, and then pick it up a little bit and scrub.
Okay. I don't know how much they can see your hand, by the way.
The camera can.
Oh, okay.
And then over here, remember, gotta be quiet on the set though. Because if this goes viral, you know, it might go viral. This might be TikTok famous.
I want to type one to TikTok famous.
No.
Oh, we get to get TikTok famous.
Okay. All right. So now you can see the transition. A lot of colors. I don't like that color there. So let's put a little blob of white on there. And then I blend small strokes. And this is like my third layer on this thing. So it's like a lot of layers. You can't really do it all at once. So it's like, here's another layer. Here's blue. This is too saturated. So right now, I got to blend this out. We'll barely see it over here. Hold on one second. Here we go. Now I'll come in here, blend this out. That's not blending. Stop. Go back in more white, and then blend the white out. And then instead of going side to side like this, watch this. I'm not coming up here. I'm going to go up. That way it gets rid of that transition. So you don't want to go side to side like you're eating corn on the cob. You want to go kind of scattered around a little bit. Then as I come down here on the bottom, I want atmospheric perspective, so I'll go a little more white. And maybe a tinge of magenta, just because I can. Got the magenta in there, a little bit of white, and not blending. So see how often I go back for more paint. So if you were to feel this, it's kind of creamy. So it's still wet. So if you're painting, and then within about like 10 seconds, if you touch your painting and it's dry, that means your paint is too thin. It should stay wet so you can blend it a lot longer. All right, so this is all the base coat. Then I'll show you the clouds here in a second. So then I can see some of them starting to develop, some of the clouds. And here, eventually this is going to be a sunset. But to make a sunset, I gotta go almost white at first. Then I'll do a glaze later. And then I'm kind of like, you can see how flat the brush is. So that's because I'm like smashing it down and scrubbing. Decent amount of pressure for like good blends. And then if it feels sticky, that means you need more paint. A lot of things need more paint. Okay. This is my base coat for the sky and clouds. Well, this is layer 2, because I already had a base coat. Okay, now that I have the base coat kind of done, and then I got some of the clouds started, now I'm going to come in and actually define some of the clouds, but not like all of them. So in here, I'm looking at Victoria Adams for my reference, and I'm going to go outline a cloud just like that. Then I take the brush, and it's a little bit dry, so you can sprinkle some water on a table. Then I'll mop it out a little bit. Oh, mop it out. And then scrub. And then for this, I'm even doing smaller strokes. And this will define the top part of the cloud. And so to get that, see this little bit on the chalky side right here. So to get rid of that, I press down a little bit harder, smaller strokes. So like right here, this has about 4 layers of paint on it. And I'm scumbling super small strokes, and it's easy to blend. It's almost like relaxing. So then I'm coming over here. You can see the easy blends. Once you get the stroke down, you can even paint blindfolded. Watch this. Here it goes. Little blob. Yeah.
Do you think it's easier to paint with like these clouds when it's laying down so you can put more pressure on it, or is it
No.
the same?
Easel. Yeah, easel's probably easier.
Okay.
But I'm like a long ways away from it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, easel is good. I have to go here so my cameras can see it.
Yeah.
And then here, small scumbling. But once you get that pattern down, you can look away, you look up.
Nobody can see where you're looking.
And that's why I'm describing it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I know you at home or on YouTube right now, you guys don't know this, but right now I'm painting with my eyes closed.
He is. I can prove it. Or no, I can't prove it, but I can.
Vouch. You can vouch for it.
Good word.
And then nice blend. And it's not because of talent, because I am not talented. This is just because of rote memorization of a brush stroke. Here it is. Down, scumble, hold on. And then when I'm done with this round, I'm going to use a medium round brush or more detail that's specific.
I didn't realize we had meeting room. Also have a question. Can I ask it?
Yeah.
Is it okay if I recommend you to my friends that want to paint and they're like, whoa, you painted so good, and I'm like, yeah, I did, but, and then they're like, whoa, you must be so talented, how'd you do that? And I was like, I'm not. Look at
Right.
these videos.
Yeah, it's just a technique.
Mm-hmm.
The techniques that are taught take the talent out of it. So if you're talented, it's easier, sure.
And then maybe my friends will make you go viral.
Because with the techniques, though, you're going to be all good. Now with this, over here, now I'm going to shift. Watch this. I'm putting this down, and Ashley, you should be watching this too. You did the skies. Now I'm going to shift down to a smaller brush.
That's such a medium round brush. I didn't know we had this.
And watch this. Come in here. This is like a Victoria Adams side. Now I'm using the same strokes, but they're smaller. Same scumbling pattern. Is smaller, and then I'll fade.
I like Victoria Adams skies, but I want my stuff to look realistic. Is that still like, can I
Yeah.
do a Victoria Adams still?
Yes.
Because like it doesn't look unrealistic. It just doesn't look like realistic.
Right. That's because of the colors.
Yeah.
The shapes are pretty good though. And then over here, I'll let it fade out a little bit more. And then this is all the next layer. So once again, I build it up. So with skies, you want to build them up so it goes layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4, layer 5. Don't try to paint skies like you're trying to make it perfect the first time. So skies are more about layers rather than going, I'm going to put a cloud in here, and then you go around the sky. No, you just want to kind of build it up slowly. So now I'm adding more detail to the top of the clouds. These are more on the horizon. So you'll be able to see the top of them a little bit better. I'm just doing really small, itty bitty little brush strokes.
Itty bitty.
And now I have a lot of paint. So it's like underneath this, if you held the canvas up to the light, you would see that I have a lot of layers of paint. You wouldn't be able to see it. So right here on this section, to turn this into a cloud, I'm gonna focus on this area right here, top of the cloud. And I push up into it to give me like the nice billowy look. So I'm not gonna go sideways. Put the brush down, and I go up into the sky. And then blend it out softly. And then I'll blend this out. So right here is too much of a hard edge. So now I'll come down here with the same techniques. And with this technique, you don't even need towels. Like this is an easier technique
I'm gonna
to.
try that this time.
So it's like, yeah, it's just like so it takes a little while, but there's no mistakes because it
This
doesn't
is a
live.
more romantic look as well.
Then I'll come in here, blur this out.
Fancy?
Okay, so then I'm gonna go, and I'll show you the next phase. I'll finish this one little section right here. All right, so right now I have like the top of the cloud, then it goes dark. So top, dark, light, dark, light, dark. Now what I'm gonna do is do a cloud kind of floating in the middle, and then this will kind of define it. So it's gonna be kind of a hard edge on the bottom and the top. Make it look a little bit more like a floating, free-floating cloud. And then after this cloud, I'm gonna go to the small brush and then get the details. So right here, barely haze it out. Now, and that's it for that section.
Wait,
Now what I'm
the
gonna do
bottom
is
for
take,
image.
and it's right there, a little more defined.
Okay.
Then I'll take the small brush, and then you can add little pieces of clouds that are kind of falling apart from that one.
That's
So
fine.
this is more of the details. Same technique though, it's the same scumbling. The only difference is smaller brush, same techniques. I'll define that a little bit more. I'll phase this out. So now my brush is even moving slower. Small brush strokes. And once again, you saw how it developed. It went from really loose to tighter and tighter. It depends on how realistic you want it. You could, like, this is really, sure, we'll call it romantic style painting, where it's kind of hazy, but then you just go back into the small brush, you can make it more realistic. And this is the smallest brush you need for clouds. Even if you want to go hardcore, this is still small enough. It's about like a 2, I think.
2 what?
That's the size of the brush.
How
All the brushes have numbers on them.
Whoa.
Okay, so then, over here on the side, I'll even define this. This is like a little haze, and down here it goes to nothing. I'll have another little cloud in the cloud, so it's like, but once again, it's on top. I'm not going around things, I'm layering clouds on top of clouds. And that's hot. Okay, then I'll blur this out a little bit on the bottom. Now go back in another layer. So you have another cloud on the cloud that's on the cloud.
That's like double hot.
Yeah, that's like 3 times as hot. Then I'll do some of the detail, the breakaway clouds. And you repeat that process, but it went from like base coat to like more of the defined clouds. Then next I'll be working on this section over here. And that is Cloud Magic, sponsored by Victoria Adams.